The cops arrested a single dad in front of his CEO, then realized he was a retired Navy SEAL. The polished marble floor of the company headquarters fell silent the moment 2 police officers stepped through the glass doors. Employees stopped typing, managers froze in the middle of meetings, and every eye turned toward the quiet maintenance worker who had just finished fixing a broken light fixture. Before anyone could understand what was happening, the officers walked straight toward him, placed him in handcuffs, and announced that he was under arrest for stealing confidential company property. His young daughter, who had been waiting in the lobby after school, watched in horror as her father was led away in front of the company's powerful CEO. But what nobody inside that building knew was that the calm, humble single dad they were humiliating had once survived missions that few soldiers in history ever lived to tell about. Within the next hour, the people who believed they had arrested an ordinary man would discover they had made the biggest mistake of their careers. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, second chances, and standing up for the innocent still matter in today's world, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in doing the right thing, and subscribe to Beyond Kindness for more unforgettable stories that touch the heart. Ethan Carter never looked like a hero. Every morning before sunrise, he packed his daughter Lily's lunch, braided her hair the best he could, and walked her to the school bus before heading to work. His clothes were simple, his truck was nearly 20 years old, and his paycheck barely covered rent, groceries, and school supplies. Most of his coworkers believed he had lived an ordinary life before becoming a maintenance technician at one of the city's largest technology companies. They had no idea that, years earlier, Ethan had served in one of the most elite military units in the world as a Navy SEAL. After losing his wife to cancer, he quietly retired from military life to become the father his daughter desperately needed. He never mentioned medals, dangerous missions, or the sacrifices he had made. To him, raising Lily was the greatest mission he would ever have. His CEO, Victoria Reynolds, had noticed Ethan's character long before anyone else did. While executives often focused on profits and performance reports, she paid attention to how people treated one another. She had seen Ethan buying lunch for interns who had forgotten their wallets, repairing broken desks without being asked, and staying late to help security guards move heavy equipment. Whenever someone thanked him, he simply smiled and said helping people was free. One afternoon, the company experienced a major cybersecurity breach. Sensitive prototypes disappeared from secure servers, and millions of dollars were suddenly at risk. Panic spread through the executive offices as investigators searched desperately for someone to blame. Security footage showed Ethan entering a restricted hallway late one evening. What the footage failed to show was that he had been responding to an emergency plumbing leak that threatened the server room. Without verifying the facts, investigators assumed the maintenance worker had somehow stolen confidential data. The police were called immediately. The following morning, Ethan had just arrived with his toolbox when the officers appeared. They didn't ask questions. They didn't listen to explanations. They simply placed him in handcuffs while dozens of coworkers stared in disbelief. Some whispered that they had always suspected something was strange about the quiet man. Others immediately judged him guilty because accusations often sounded more believable than the truth. Lily had come to the office that afternoon because school ended early. Standing beside the reception desk with her backpack, she watched tears fill her eyes as her father was searched in front of everyone. Ethan looked at her with remarkable calm. Even while wearing handcuffs, his only concern was making sure she didn't feel alone. Victoria stepped forward, demanding evidence before one of her employees was publicly humiliated. The officers insisted they were following orders based on the investigation. Ethan never resisted. Years of military discipline had taught him that panic never solved problems. During the routine identification process, one officer scanned Ethan's background. The computer paused for several seconds before displaying information marked with multiple government security clearances. The officer frowned, assuming the system had malfunctioned. After contacting federal databases, his expression changed completely. The maintenance worker standing quietly in handcuffs wasn't just another employee. He was a highly decorated retired Navy SEAL whose service record contained classified operations, presidential commendations, and rescue missions that remained sealed by the government. The room became completely silent. Senior officers arrived within minutes. The confident expressions on the arresting officers disappeared as they realized the magnitude of their mistake. Ethan's military history didn't place him above the law, but it instantly raised serious questions about whether investigators had rushed to conclusions without proper evidence. Federal investigators soon joined the case because some of the classified information connected to Ethan's service required special handling. Within hours, digital forensic experts uncovered the truth. The real thief wasn't Ethan, it was the company's ambitious cybersecurity director, who had secretly copied confidential technology and planned to sell it overseas for millions of dollars. Knowing investigators would search for someone with access to restricted areas, he manipulated security footage to frame Ethan. Assuming nobody would believe the quiet maintenance worker over a respected executive, everything began to collapse once experts analyzed the complete surveillance recordings. Hidden camera angles revealed Ethan repairing a burst pipe, exactly where he claimed he had been. Additional digital logs exposed the executive accessing confidential files long after everyone else had left the building. The arrest warrant was immediately withdrawn. The executive was arrested instead. The officers who had handcuffed Ethan publicly apologized in front of the entire company. Their voices carried genuine regret because they now understood how quickly assumptions could destroy an innocent person's reputation. Victoria gathered every employee in the main auditorium that afternoon. She explained that integrity could never be measured by job titles, expensive suits, or executive offices. Sometimes the strongest character belonged to the quietest person in the building. She then surprised everyone by sharing something Ethan had never revealed himself. During his military career, Ethan had once risked his own life to rescue civilians trapped during an overseas crisis. Several teammates credited his courage with saving their lives. Yet after retirement, he had never spoken about those experiences because he believed true heroes didn't need applause. The entire room stood in silence. Then, one by one, employees rose to their feet. The applause lasted several minutes. Many who had doubted Ethan lowered their heads in shame, but Ethan didn't celebrate. Instead, he walked toward Lily, knelt beside her, and hugged her tightly. He whispered that no matter what happened in life, people should never allow bitterness to replace kindness. Character wasn't proven when everything went well. It was revealed when everything seemed unfair. Victoria offered Ethan a senior leadership position within the company's security division, believing his discipline, integrity, and leadership could inspire hundreds of employees. Ethan accepted, but only after asking for flexible hours, so he could continue taking Lily to school every morning. For him, fatherhood would always come before promotions. Months later, the company launched a scholarship in Ethan's wife's memory for children who had lost a parent. Ethan quietly volunteered every weekend, mentoring young people struggling through difficult circumstances. His story spread far beyond the company, reminding thousands that appearances often hide extraordinary lives. The officers who had arrested him also changed. They introduced new procedures requiring stronger evidence before public arrests involving workplace accusations. Ethan never held a grudge against them. Instead, he thanked them for admitting their mistake, because accountability required courage, too. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with your family and friends. Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to Beyond Kindness so we can continue sharing stories that remind the world why compassion and truth still matter. Special request. Before this story ends, please comment, "Never judge a person before knowing the truth." Your words may inspire someone who needs that reminder today. Sometimes the strongest people wear the simplest uniforms. Sometimes the greatest heroes drive old trucks, work ordinary jobs, and quietly raise their children without asking for recognition. And sometimes, the greatest victory isn't proving the world wrong. It's choosing kindness even after the world has treated you unfairly. Ethan Carter's greatest achievement was never becoming a Navy SEAL. It was remaining a good father, an honest man, and a compassionate human being when life gave him every reason to become bitter. That is the kind of strength the world will never forget.